life is erotic, like it's moving through us. And so I was not wanting to feel my eroticism at this time. But then I discovered like every time I'd paint, I could feel my erotic body wanting to express itself and wanting to like alchemize.
Hello and welcome to That's Just Human, a podcast that explores all aspects of being human, living in a human body, and dealing with life's obstacles. I'm your host, Elisha Light Angel, and by day I'm a massage therapist, but like you, I also happen to live in a human body and have a plethora of human experiences. I like to talk about mine and also other people's, so here's the space we get to do that. Today I'm really excited to introduce you to this goddess that I got to meet years ago at a friend's house in her element, painting, and it was the coolest thing. And we've stayed connected via Facebook, and she's doing amazing stuff and helping people heal. And we're going to get into some very spicy, juicy topics today. So we are going to be talking a lot about sexuality, and there might be a lot of vulgar language that possibly gets dropped. I'm telling this to you in real time. I'm not psychic, so I don't know exactly what we're going to say, but in case any of this is not a subject that you are about, please feel free to catch the next episode. And I would like to welcome Peyton Baker, who is a visionary artist, ritual photographer, and the founder of the Temple of Enchantment, which we will most surely talk about today. Her amazing transformational work for women helps them to heal their relationship with sexuality, and she creates these experiences that she blends art, embodiment, ceremony, photography, all these things into one container to really help women to break free and embrace who they are, and they make an existence of living work of art within themselves. It's some really cool stuff. So hello, Peyton. Welcome.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on to this. I really enjoy watching your transformation and all of the cool stuff you're doing, which is usually not where I live, but I like to see it from a distance.
Mm-hmm.
You've been an artist for a long time, and that's kind of where this maybe starts for you.
Well, I've been an artist my whole life.
You've been an artist, so how did you come to this form of art through your process of learning, and what comes out of you? Because the audience hasn't seen your art, but I've seen it, and it's vibrant and it speaks from the soul. Like a piece of essence comes out of you through each and every single painting.
Yeah, so my whole thing is living a life as art. So not just painting, but like the way you dress, the way you move through the world. And I feel like, you know, we have all these titles and things that we give ourselves, and like the title that always like remains true for me is like artist. Like I'm like, yeah, that's it. And like that's what I am. I'm an artist. Like whether it's like I'm artfully moving through my emotions, or I'm artfully like connecting to God, or I'm artfully cleaning my room and temple keeping. Yeah, it's been a journey, and I feel like I came in this way. I feel like I came in as an artist. Like I was always just very chaotic, feminine, and into the play and the exploration, and like anything I can get my hands on, I'm creating, you know. I'm like, if it's sculpture or like photography or painting, I feel like I'm well known for painting and photography at this moment. But it's just, it extends into everything, like set design. I love creating sets and dreamscapes and places to like immerse ourselves in. Like I want to be immersed in art. Like when I like look at, I'm very inspired by like old timey stuff, like art history and just like old buildings and things like that, if you look at it, it's just like every little detail is like, oh, every brick has some kind of sculpture in it, or like some everything's like so like the feminine is clearly so revered. Like there's a slower pace to being an artist, like that is almost like rebellious in these times. Like it's being an artist feels like rebellion, because it's like you have to slow down, you have to pay attention to the small little details, and really take life in a more present way, you know, being in your body and being in your sight. And yeah.
That's so cool that you see in all of that. And your artwork very much embraces the feminine body and the curves, the feminine yoni. Uh, there's more. Tell us more about how you bring all of this femininity to the table in these beautiful aspects.
Yes. Well, I feel like my story is actually like really powerful, and like how I became obsessed with like pussy and sexuality and bringing that into art in general. So like I'll take us kind of back to like my spiritual awakening time, because like I said, I was already an artist. I was already exploring like erotic topics. I was really into the figure. I was taking all these figure drawing classes, but I had a really intense spiritual awakening that was catalyzed by being raped and also doing ayahuasca 9 days after that. It was crazy. Like, yeah, I had literally like prepared for that ceremony, but didn't know how I was gonna sit with it, and literally spent 2 months, yeah, like preparing for this, like eating a certain way, getting rid of sex, getting rid of all my vices like alcohol and weed and all this stuff. And so to have that such a clear defining experience of like, whoa, I had this sexual experience that I did not want. I was very like empowered in my no at that time. And then you know, like I like resented my art for a while at this point, because my rapist, he told me that it was my fault. He was like, I was like, why'd you do this to me, dude? And um, he was like, look at you, like dressing all sexy and like, look at your art. And like, I was literally doing an erotic series in college, like of these girls like making love to flowers. And I was like, you know, having my friends do mushrooms with me and being like, look, aren't the flowers so amazing? Don't you just want to make love? Like, I had to like take them through the journey so that they could understand it and model for me. So I was like really in devotion to like this sensuality that was happening with nature and just expressing it. And I was a stripper and I was a sex worker and all these things. And yeah, so that was kind of like a pivotal moment for me, where I was kind of like, ugh, art sucks. I hate it. Like, fuck art. And like, I could have taken a bat and destroyed all my paintings. Like, I remember wanting to do that, like wanting to do that, but like something in me not being able to. And so it became kind of like this vision quest of going into my art and feeling deeply uncomfortable, just feeling so confronted by my sexuality, because it was like my biggest pain point and my greatest muse were like the same thing. And so I was kind of like, shit, man, this is like so confrontational. Like, this is so intense. You know, our creation energy comes from the sacral chakra. So like when you're creating, like it's coming from the same space as your sexual energy. It's life force, it's creation. Like, it's, you know, like life is erotic, like it's moving through us. And so I was not wanting to feel my eroticism at this time. But then I discovered like every time I'd paint, I could feel my erotic body wanting to express itself and wanting to like alchemize. And so it's kind of like, you know, that saying, like the only way out is through. I kind of just had to like face myself in a very deep way. And like anyone who paints super deeply or like goes really deep into their art knows that like it takes time, it takes devotion. So I was like spending like extended time facing my shit. And and it started to alchemize inside of me, and I started to like really like feel like, okay, well, one, not everything I paint has to be beautiful. Like, I really had to like dismantle that inside myself. Like, I had to make a lot of shitty, ugly, cathartic, fucked up art. Like, just I had to really express my pain and my suffering. And I was like, wow, this is really alchemical, and this is actually really powerful. Like, I'm really like, because I was going to these ayahuasca ceremonies and basically having huge emotional experiences and being like, oh my god, I was like, that's all I need to do is feel my emotions. Like, that was pretty much what I was going to ceremony for, was to like open the floodgates of my emotion. And so then I was like, oh, I can do that sober. I don't have to go to ceremony all the time and have this big fucking blowout fucking experience. Like, I can do it with the art. And the art actually started to take me to like those deeper places. Like, same as like ayahuasca, I was going straight into those spaces sober and just with painting. And so I started to share it with others. I started to gather people and be like, hey y'all, like my first workshop I ever started hosting was called The Art of Sexual Healing. It was a monthly gathering, and all the women would come together. I rented out this yoga studio, and I'd just cover everything with like plastic and tarps, and I was like, okay, like, we're gonna express our emotions. Like, here's my story. Here's basically what I've been discovering in ayahuasca, and like, we need to feel our feelings, everybody. Like, let's go. And I'd turn on like screamo. We'd all like go, ah! Like, and just like throw paint and just like make crazy art, and then alchemize it. So we go into the pain, go into the tragedy of whatever we're experiencing, and then we would transmute it. We would eventually, by the end of the workshop, we'd have a beautiful painting. What started out as a shit pile turned into beauty. And so that kind of like just became kind of like my thing of like wanting to share how alchemical art could be, discovering how it could empower me to come back into my body. Like I said, my rapist like really blamed me in my embodiment for what happened. And so I started to take pictures of myself, just really just reclaiming my whole self, like my whole body, like using every form of art I could, and as well as like somatics and stuff. But I feel like it was the art that really like got it into my subconscious and stuff. Like, started to paint things I wanted to see. I started to paint my pussy as this beautiful portal to heaven. I started to paint sexuality I wanted to see in the world. Like, I was like, that I don't see this anywhere. I don't see what I want to see. I think men are bad. I think my pussy's like it's disconnected from me. So I just spent a lot of time on the subjects that felt painful to me and just brought the beauty into them, So that's kind of like the deeper context of my art, is like it was honestly just so alchemical and cathartic and necessary for my soul.
Wow. I really like, especially hearing that you painted what you want to see, not what you were seeing, but, it's that process of creating. So, putting that forth into reality as a painting, like, this is what could be, and this is what I want to see. And so I'm working toward having the vision of that. That is really cool. So now I know you have something called the Pussy Portal, and you do something maybe similar of walking people through. Like, tell me more about that and the audience, because this sounds like amazingly cool work that a bunch of people need to know exists.
Yeah, the Pussy Portal is my favorite creation. It's honestly like a rite of passage and initiation. So it's not like if you're trying to like dip your toes into sexual healing or dip your toes into art, like, it's not that kind of space. It's like full deep dive. Let's fucking go. I'm in. I want to be like immersed in the magic of my pussy. I want to discover that. I want to create my own heaven on earth. Like, I want to be the visionary of my life, and I want to create the thing. I want to believe it before I see it, and then I'm going to see it in front of me by the end of this, because I'm going to make a painting of it. So the Pussy Portal kind of takes a few things and kind of weaves them together. It's like it's like painting with God. I don't know. It's like art that has God in it. Like, I can't explain it. It's like, it is magic. I'm always like struggling to like put it into words, but I know that it works because I've taken like, dozens of women through it at this point, and we're all always just like, I get what you mean. It's magic. It's magic. It's just like you, it's almost like the paintings want to paint themselves, like things you couldn't even imagine want to reveal themselves to you. Like these paintings become oracles. Your pussy becomes this oracle that becomes like this great teacher of like the teacher of your pleasure, the teacher of your power, the teacher of your prosperity, like the teacher that just wants to unlock the codes of heaven on earth for you. Like it's painting and pussy for me, and God, like just all weaved into one. And we have embodiment and ritual and in there as well, just like actually like doing some of the de-armoring and some of the physical we had to excavate the trauma physically from our body too. Like expressing it on the canvas is a part of that. It gets it out of your body, you start to express it, but also there's a de-armoring process. And so we go into de-armoring and removing trauma actually from the body through sound and movement and yoni steaming and just different physical modalities. And it's just kind of like this big altar for pussy. It's like you want to feel good in your body again. You want to feel fucking powerful. You want your sexuality to be something that is so fucking juicy. You want to be turned on by your fucking life. Pussy portal. Dive deep, baby.
I love that.
Yeah.
So is this something you do, like it's a weekend retreat, or is it, I don't know, several meetups over the course of time? Because I could imagine a lot of this has got to take people some time to integrate.
Yeah, it is deep. So I've been running it like yearly for a while, and it's just kind of like a cohort thing, like of like spring cohort, or like it's kind of like a semester. Like if you were gonna go deep into something for a semester, it's kind of like that. But I am definitely dreaming up like in-person retreat for it. Like I feel like that's really what it wants to evolve into, because right now it's like it is on a course platform, so we do like live calls, and we have like a whole library of resources, and then I have everything I teach is just already in there. And then the live calls are more like for support and community and connection and doing rituals together. So it's
Very cool.
I was talking to my friend about it there. She took it and she was just like, she was like, this work was so transformational for me. She was like, but she was like, I just want you with me. She was like, I want to come do it in person. She was like, can we do this in person? And so it's really, I think that's the direction I'm going to take it, is like once or twice a year, we just have a full immersion and just go super deep into pussy and art and reclamation, and maybe incorporating some ceremony in there as well with, just a little medicine, maybe like mushrooms.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely amazing. I'm taking an online class right now and we do the live calls. So that does build up some community because you get to see these people, like they're online, but
Mm-hmm.
they're just little pictures and some words that you're reading and trying to associate with the picture. So then you get a face with a voice that talks back, and having in person stuff just, it's a whole other level of connection with
Mm-hmm.
people, and when other people are healing things, like you might not realize what you have inside of you to be healed, but when someone else is inside of their process, it can be healing you at the same time, and it's really
Yes.
cool.
Yeah. 1,000% agree.
So you take people through other explorations of art too, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. I do like photographic ceremonies too, which is just using art as a way to, or using the photography as kind of like this rite of passage, or a way to anchor in identity, or a way to I don't know, just really like catch your soul essence. Like I'm really like, I could do like regular portrait and stuff, but like I'm really just into like ritualizing everything. I love to have like a lot of intention and like really get to know the vibes of the person, like bring their magic into like real life.
Yes. If y'all listeners follow her, you'll see some of these pictures. They are, I think you do capture the essence of people, but in this, like the light of them that shines through in a picture, and or this whole photo shoot with this really artistic view. It's different than photography that I see most people doing. There's
Mm-hmm.
like you have another level. It is that something that you bring to the table that isn't really seen. I
Mm-hmm.
haven't seen other people do what you do.
Yeah, I think photography is honestly very vulnerable for a lot of people. Like a lot of people have insecurity or don't feel comfortable in front of the camera, and like those, like I love to like help those people because I'm like, you're so beautiful. I just like want to show you how beautiful you are. So I almost like turn into like a flamboyant gay man who's like your hype man. Like when I'm like doing fun, I'm like, yes, bitch, yes. Like like I just get so just into capturing like the beauty of people, and I think that was also like another alchemical process for me too because my background is like my aunt had a modeling agency. My mom was a top model internationally, and I kind of grew up around that. But a lot of that industry is kind of like, you're not good enough. You need to fix this about you, and like your hips are getting too wide, and you need to straighten your teeth, and maybe get a nose job, and it's just a weird shit. Like it's just like ew. And not to mention, there's a lot of creepy ass photographers, like a lot of creepers out there. And so, like, I was in that world for a little bit, and then I was like, I want tattoos. You know what? Fuck you. I like myself how I am, and um, I still wanted photos of myself. I wanted pretty photos, and so I kind of started taking my own photos of myself, and then taking photos for art painting references, and then being like, I'm actually really good at this. I should just do this. And then it kind of just evolved into its own thing too.
Ah, that's cool. Yeah, I would never think to take photos of myself the same way. I forget to take photos, so I find it fascinating when other people remember to actually take photos and then you do something cool with it on top of that.
Dude, it's
Um,
so cool. It's so nice to like something like what I have here. Like you can use this. It's like a little tripod thing. It's got, you could just put your phone in there, and you can like look at yourself. Like I like looking at myself while I'm taking the photos. It's nice to be able to see myself on my phone, and that's honestly what I did for a while. Like even like taking professional photos, I was just using my iPhone. I just edited on Lightroom, and people were like, "Wow, you're so good! Like these are so professional." And like I built my brand that way. I was like, "Yeah, I'm just fucking phone photos." I didn't get a camera until like last year.
wow, that's pretty impressive. So, starting to take those photos, even for some of your art and stuff, was that part of your healing process too?
Yeah, definitely. It was just, yeah, part of like my entrepreneurial journey of like I felt like I had things I wanted to share. I didn't feel like I had the resources to invest in my, like I really wanted photographers to photograph me, but I didn't have the resources for it. And so it was just kind of a resourceful moment that kind of just became something that I loved, where I was like, this is nice. And then I loved cat, like I got obsessed with editing. Like it literally started with me just photographing myself, and then doing the paint reference photos. And then I got an iPad, and I was like, oh, I can draw on the photos. And I was like, oh, does anyone want photos? And then I'll draw on them. So then I started offering that. It was just kind of just kept evolving. It's just now I'm wanting to do like full photography retreats too, like where it's like we're gonna play with all these different archetypes and looks, and I'll style you, and we'll have a beauty team, and we'll like all go out into the nature. I live in Hawaii, so it's motherfucking beautiful here. So like, okay, we'll go here, we'll fucking like do, I'm like wanting to do so much shit with photography because it's like it feels so ancient to me, even though it's like a new thing. But like making ritual art, like getting in full costume and attire, and synchronizing our movements or getting into an embodiment, getting into an expression or an archetype, something you want to embody. Like, it's so fucking fun. It's so fun, and it's so like when you see the photos of yourself, you're just like, oh fuck, I'm fucking cool, I'm fucking powerful, I'm fucking beautiful, I'm fucking iconic, bitch. Like, it's so fun.
Man, I want to go to the photo shoot retreat. That sounds amazing.
Girl, yes. I'm like literally thinking I'm gonna do them back to back, like Pussy Portal and then the photography retreat, and just have like the different archetypes we explore. Cause like I'm having visions of some stuff I want to do at one of these beaches here. I'm just like, oh, I need people to travel here for this. We just need to go full on with it.
Yes, you
Full
should do
production.
that for sure. So, have people that you photographed had any kind of testimonials of some things that they've been through, wherever they were in a space prior to the photo shoot, and then having just worked with you, maybe a shift in their lives or anything?
Yeah, I feel like yeah, it's always like kind of one of the things that like I really revere is like I feel like people come to me when they're going through threshold moments, like whether it's like I photograph a lot of like maternity and like those moments, like you'll never have that moment again, and like I feel like women need those kind of pictures of themselves. And I've photographed people like alchemizing like their dark emotions and just coming out and being like, wow, like I fucking understand my boundaries and shit now. Like I feel powerful. Like there's something like it does change something in you. Like that's why I feel like it is like this threshold almost that you step through, and we're just like marking the moment with the photograph, like of like that was you, and like like it's just like crazy. Um, yeah, and then yeah, like the sexual healing stuff. A lot of women haven't seen themselves as sexy or beautiful and stuff, and so when they see photos of themselves where they actually look good, like, because I'm telling you, most people are not taking your photograph right. Like people take my photo all the time, and honestly, I hate it. Like they'll be like, "Oh, do you want me to take a photo of you?" And I'm like, "Sure." And then it's like I'm like double chinning, or it's like the wrong angles. It's just like not flattering at all. And then I feel like I'm like, "Wow, damn, I felt really hot, and now I feel like fucking gross." So it can be like, and it can have the opposite effect. Like you could feel like, oh, I'm not that, no. And then you're like, see yourself, and you're like, God damn, never mind. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. I'm hot. Like,
Yeah, I can see that. I definitely can relate to having those moments, especially when somebody else is just taking a picture for you and it's whatever angle, and you're like, well, that's not exactly what I had in mind, but I'm there, so sure, you caught the moment.
it's horrible when you actually feel like hot shit. Or like you're feeling good, and then you see a photo, and you're like, you couldn't have told me to like adjust my posture or anything. Like, you could have like told me there was like something in my teeth, or like there was like a hair, like I don't know,
Right.
those
Yeah,
little things. I'm
absolutely.
like,
Well, that's really wonderful that you can do that. I also saw you're doing like a series, and this is changing the subject of like goddess paintings, or there was a Mary Magdalene, and I can't remember. You had a list of specific ones that you're doing.
mm-hmm.
Can you speak more on that and like the inspiration on how something like this comes to you?
Yeah. Oh, I love this because I'm actually about to paint on her. I'm working on Mary Magdalene first. So, if you are not familiar, there's this book called The Sophia Code. It kind of made its way through, it's made a few rounds through the spiritual communities. Essentially, what the Sophia Code is this book of key code activations. So it activates things in your DNA, in your soul remembrance of the divine feminine Christ consciousness, which is Sophia. Sophia, Christ consciousness. And so it's the feminine part. So we know Christ consciousness, we know like Yeshua and God, and this is the other side of that. And so there are all these different mentors inside the book that you go through. Like you read their story, and they do this activation with you. And so it's Isis and Hathor and Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, Kuan Yin, Green Tara, like all these different White Buffalo Woman and the Sophia Dragons. I'm like, I might be missing some, but like they all basically give you a different piece of the puzzle of like their gift to you and what they're awakening so you can be more sovereign in your creation so that you're actually like, if you find this book, it's said that you're like in training to be an ascended master yourself. And so everyone in there is an ascended master. And yeah, they're just there to guide you and stuff. So when I was reading the book, Mary Magdalene, I got the book because Mary Magdalene, she had already been coming to me through photography first. She came through a photo shoot. I was doing like this ritual photo shoot with my friends, and I was like, "Who are you?" And it was Mary Magdalene, and I was like, "Wow!" And I had no idea. All I thought at the time was that wasn't that the prostitute in Jesus' book. I had no idea. That's not the story of Mary Magdalene. If you don't know, that's a whole other subject. It's a deep subject, but look it up. Mary Magdalene feast day. She was the apostle of apostles, and anyway, so I read the book, and when I was reading it, it was super clear to me. Like Isis was the first one to say anything. She's the first activation, and she was like, you know, you're meant to paint me. Like this isn't your way to mentor with me. Like I mean, like you're gonna paint me. And that came up in an Akashic Records reading too later, and Mary Magdalene kind of kept pressing it too. She's like, you know, like they want to be painted. And so I was like, okay, like that's how they wanted me to mentor with them. So I kind of like paused my reading of the book. I didn't even finish the book, and I was just like, oh, like I'll just paint them. And that was like 4 years ago or 5 years ago. And I had like 20 or 30 paintings going. I was like, yeah, I'll get to it. And then I moved to Hawaii, and anyway, I got gifted this huge canvas, and I literally was just gonna fuck around on it. Like, I was like, I don't want to paint anything cool on this. Like, I was literally like, I cleaned up this canvas and told myself I was just gonna paint something like silly on it, maybe try to like sell it fast or something. Like, I was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna like gesture on this. And then fucking Mary Magdalene comes out, and I'm just like, and it became so fucking cool. It's like literally my favorite painting to date. Like, I'm obsessed with it. It's so fucking cool. Like, to walk out. It's in my living room right now. And you walk out, and it's got like gold leaf behind it, which was also my first time to work with gold leaf. And I'm obsessed. Ooh. Oh, it's like fairy dust. It's so fucking hot. It's so like sexy. Like, it's like glitter. You're like dusting it. It's just like glitter flying around. I'm like, it's so pretty. It's so amazing. And it's so like multi-dimensional. So I have her with the gold leaf behind her, and there's like this arch around her. And then on the side of the arch is 2 dragons, because she's part of the Sophia dragon tribe. And those dragons have been fucking initiating me, dude. Like, they are trippy. The first night I painted those dragons, I tripped balls. Like, I was closing my eyes after painting them, and my boyfriend was over, and I was like, I kept seeing dragons everywhere. Like, not the dragons I was painting. I was seeing like a whole dragon realm, and there were like this whole like dragon war happening, and I was like, babe, this is too intense. I was like, what the fuck? Can you hold me? Like, I was like, I'm seeing dragons everywhere. This is fucking weird. Like, they kind of like intimidated me for a minute, but now they're there, and they're like very fierce, and she's like holding this like flame in her cup. She's holding this like lotus flame in a cup, like a chalice, and she just looks so fucking unbothered and so badass and so fierce. And I'm just like, damn, Mary. Ooh. Talk about someone who walks through the fucking thresholds. Like, she carries so much wisdom. Like, she has like sovereignty codes. She has wealth codes, like feminine wealth codes. Like, she's the one who funded Jesus's mission. Like, she was an independently wealthy woman back then, and a priestess who was like studying in Egypt. And like, she's just like, yeah, she was a doula of death, and it's just crazy, amazing to have her in my space. Like, her energy is very felt, and everyone who's seen her has been like, whoa,
Wow.
yeah, it's incredible. And I'm gonna do Yeshua next, Jesus, and then ISIS after that, and just kind of work my way through the series. And so I'm kind of inviting people to collect these works or like fund them because I'm just kind of like painting them and I'm just letting them come through, and they're like all wanting to be on this bigger scale, and like these are meant to be like in temples or in spaces that are like holding that vibe. So it's like a very particular kind of person who would want these, like people who would want the key code activation of Isis like in their space. They would just want it like emanating in their space.
Yeah.
The key code of Mary Magdalene in their space. Like, so yeah.
How long does it take you to finish a painting of this magnitude?
I just don't know. I swear I wish art was more predictable sometimes, because I've had paintings come through in like days, and then I've had some take months and years. And so there's no rhyme or reason to it. I feel like if I was only painting, it probably wouldn't take that long, like a month or two. Like, I mean, maybe not even, yeah, it wouldn't take that long if my only thing I did was painting, but it's not my reality at this time. Like, I do farm work, I paint, I do the photography, I'm also my admin. So I'm like starting a podcast too. It's like I have so many things that I have my toes in, so, or like my tentacles in, and so it's hard to tell, but I'm supposed to finish it because it's going to be the cover. Do you know Maria Stark?
I don't think so.
She is an amazing artist, just incredible, gifted musician, and it's going to be the cover of her and this other musician, Katya. It's gonna, or Katarina. It's gonna be their album cover for like the new single they have coming out. And so I'm supposed to finish it. I was actually supposed to have it done by today, and it's not done. I had to message them, be like, it's not done. I'm working
Oops.
on it. But it'll be done soon. Ish. Like, just like, it's just like art. It just has its own timing.
Yeah, I'm creative, but I'm not an artist. I'm a I if I do art, it's goal oriented. Everything I do is goal oriented, so that I have to hurry
Mm,
up and finish it.
mm,
This is how I approach things. I'm like just going for the end. I have to slow down. Like this
mm.
is my intentionally slow down, enjoy where I'm at kind of thing. So I'm really interested in knowing what is the process of art like for you? Like, does your brain just go into this multi-dimensional space and stuff starts flying out of you? Do you like what is it kind of like?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I just thought that the way you said all that was very intriguing to me. Of like, I'm goal oriented because like it's like I said, I really relate art and sexuality together, and so like I'm kind of in this like constant process of like surrendering, because like of course I want the fucking orgasm, of course I want, the art orgasm or like the actual orgasm. And so like it's like of course I want it, and like there's kind of like this surrender like with the timing and stuff. Like what I realized like with myself, like when you're tapping into the energy of the feminine, she doesn't like to feel that kind of pressure, like the time pressure. Like she likes containment, but like trying to rush the feminine, it doesn't work for me. Like it doesn't lead to like the most orgasmic blissful state of my being, which is like, yeah, like I have art orgasms, I have moments, but like it takes surrender, because I don't always want to show up. Like it takes discipline and devotion to show up to my paintings, and it's a weird thing that I've always just been battling, because I'm like, oh, I just, all I want to do is paint, and then somehow it's like the last thing I do in the day, and I'm like, I'll get there and I'm kind of like, oh, I don't really want to do this. Like I'd kind of rather just like watch Netflix or something, and like I just kind of had to like make myself get into it. Um and then once I'm in it, I'm like, wow, like, whoa, it's so good. But it's like, it's interesting because it's like it doesn't always feel good when I'm starting. It's like just this like de-armoring process of like I'm anxious or like I'm really somewhere else. It's kind of like you have to like draw all your energy into that moment and then you start to like get lost in it, you know? But yeah, as far as like what it's also like too, is like I literally feel like when I finally get into that flow state, it feels effortless at the same time. Like God is painting through me. Like I don't even have to think about what I'm painting. The paintings show me what they want.
Mm.
Like I can see them. There's like this clairvoyance. Like I might see this like little essence of something. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna like enhance that here because like I developed the skill to like already paint this kind of stuff, you know. Like I just start to like bring those things to life. Like a lot of times I don't know what I'm gonna paint, so I start with this chaos mode. Like I start everything chaotic. Like the chaos is where the creation comes from. So when I just paint whatever the fuck I want on the first few layers, like I just kind of, it's just experiment time. So I just kind of see what I see in it, and then I like overlay what I feel like I want to put on there, and then it starts to inform the rest of the painting. Like the chaos informs the painting. Like those for yeah, it's in I don't know, it's a very unique methodology that I have, and I love it. And it's I don't know, it doesn't always make sense, but it's also like better that way because like it gets you out of your thinking mind and into like the God zone, like where it's like you're painting something that you couldn't have thought of. You're like, oh my god, and you're just like, oh, I couldn't have thought of that. Oh, it's so good. Oh, it's like you're orgasming from the art.
That's pretty incredible. I
Yeah.
like it's like a paradox, kind of like in we have these paradoxes in life where or that resistance that builds up where I love doing this thing, but to get to doing that thing takes a lot of self-talk or whatever it is that we have to get there. But once you're there, you're happy to stay there. So I feel not just art, I feel there's a lot of other things that people go through in general that can be applicable to. And just fighting up over that resistance and then losing yourself in that surrender and with you that's with art, like that sounds really cool, being able to visually like see something and then just make it happen on there, or to start with chaos and then from the chaos build something. If you kind of think about it, the Big Bang, what could be considered an orgasm, it also could be the chaos that birthed, everything that we know. So it's like tapping in to that origination and putting it forth in paint in a visual that people can resonate and, like you said, receive codes from. I think not just in the
Mm-hmm.
works that you're doing, but any of the works. I think you've probably infused those with some kind of codes that really speak. And some of that healing that you've done in yourself could help somebody else heal just by observing your painting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's I think uncomfortable for a lot of people because uh what that kind of painting does, because a lot of places, like if you're in college or whatever, they're gonna be like, okay, plan your composition and like you the rule of thirds and and which all those things do help. Like it's good to have that kind of in the background of your mind as you're orchestrating your piece, but like no, I don't feel like it's great as the starting point because now your painting isn't just a painting, it's now a master teacher teaching you how to fucking surrender to your highest visions. Like you are becoming a visionary of taking something that's not seen and making it seen. And I feel like so many people, so many of us want to create this beautiful, epic, fucking, life for ourselves. But we're so scared. We're so scared to step into the mystery because we want to know every fucking next step. We want to know what's coming next, or like what can I expect, or when will I do this? And like it takes away the fucking pleasure of it all. Like you're not gonna have a mind-blowing life if you're trying to plan it all out like that. Like you let go of the plan and like let yourself get blown the fuck away by what wants to happen, because it's so much better than you could ever imagine. And like painting is such a safe way to practice leaning into the mystery without having to like, go overseas or something. But like it's training grounds. It's like I really wanted to live in Hawaii, so I was painting all this stuff that was like really taking my edge, and like, that trained me in a lot of ways to come here.
Do you manifest through painting?
I do, and I love it. Yeah, because it's like, well, you're spending so much time in the vision. Like you're in that world while you're painting it. Like you're in it. And that's why I'm like, don't use your creativity to feed the dystopian reality. Like there are people who like want, like I've made art to express my pain and I burned it. I let it go. I don't want those images out in the world. Like I don't want them. They could have been beautiful, impactful art, but like I want heaven on earth, and so I'm gonna paint that.
Thank you.
Like, yeah, yeah.
I love that. Well, we're coming to the end of our time, so we're going to wrap up here. I think there's a lot of juicy stuff. And um, when this comes out, you might already be through with the Pussy Portal. I'm not sure exactly where you'll be at for this year. But, audience, people listening, people watching, you can find her on the internet in different capacities and either follow her and see what she's doing, see what the next either workshop, retreat, photo shoot, piece of art she's selling. Like, as a woman, you could have sexual reclamation and transform your entire life if you delve into some of this work. So, where can they find you on the internet?
Yes, on the internet, you can find me at my name, PeytonQuinnBaker.com. Um, or my Instagram is usually where I'm kind of the most active. So it's temple underscore of underscore enchantment. So temple of enchantment with underscores in between. And yeah, if you're wanting to just like, if you are wanting to just dip your toes in and taste some of the like chaos to creation and things like that, I have like different levels you can come in at to play with me. Like I have a low level membership. I wanted it to be accessible. It's called Painterest, where I teach you how to like connect to the visionary art world, connect to the painting, and you can just as deep as you want to go. I have offerings for.
I love that. I'm going to put links in the description show notes so you can easily click on those and find her, follow her, take her anything that she's offering. So, my last question that I have for you is if you have one piece of wisdom that you could leave the listeners with, it could be anything that we touched on today or just anything that comes to you from life in general.
Oh, just random wisdom. Okay.
Yeah, wisdom.
A random wisdom. Yeah, I mean, like life is so serious. I think I was touching on it earlier. It's like, don't get so caught up in consuming what's going on in the world. Like I know it's important to stay informed, but if like use your creativity powerfully. Like use it to create what you want. Like don't over consume. Like let yourself actually go out there and live a beautiful, joyous life, because your joy is something that is so alchemical for the whole human collective. Like your joy is contagious. Like it's necessary. It is like one of the holiest rebellions I feel like there is right now. So let yourself have beautiful things. Like just you depriving yourself of that isn't gonna help anyone who's suffering. Like the more you let yourself receive, the more you can help, the more you'll be overflowing, the more your family will benefit, your friends will benefit. Like let yourself like receive good things.
Mm. We can marinate in that statement alone.
Mm.
Let yourself receive good things.
Lather it up.
Yes.
You are worthy. You are divine.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of yourself and your art and pieces of you today and this beautiful wisdom that you've left the audience with.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy we finally made it happen.
I know.
And yeah,
Yeah, if you're still listening, you can support my show by doing a few different things. You can give me 5 stars on Spotify. You can go to Apple iTunes. You can also give me 5 stars and leave a review. If you're on YouTube, you can subscribe, you can like, you can leave a comment. You can share this episode with anyone that you think might need to hear it, or any of my other episodes too. You can do that. And all of those help me get my show out so more people can hear some of the awesomeness that we share and talk about here. And if you're out there, as you embrace your humanness, be kind, be you, and remember, everything is part of the journey.